सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। नारायणं पद्मभवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तं त्रोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यात् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः। स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। In this second chapter, Gaudapadacharya ji in the first 4 shlokas talks about how the world of dream is unreal, how dream is mithya. Then from shlokas number all the way from 5 up to 15, he talks about how the waking state is unreal. The mithyatva bhava of the waking world is established. How the waking world has seeming non-existence, and the seeming non-existence of the waking world over here Gaudapadacharya ji very systematically in different points he has enumerated, and now he concludes in 16, 17 and 18 how this waking world has arrived. And the arrival of this waking world, he enumerates that as the very Atma itself creates, and this Atma itself creates this Jivatva Bhav, and that is the cause of the waking state, and that is now presented in Karika number 16. Jivam kalpayate purvam
Jivam kalpayate purvam
tato bhavan pruthak vidhan
Tato bhavan pruthak vidhan
Bahyanadhyatmikamschaiva
Bahyan adhyatmikanschaiva
Yatha vidyastatha smritihi.
Yatha vidhyastatha smritihi.
Jivam kalpayate purvam. First, the jiva bhavana. First, purvam, jivam kalpayate. The jiva bhavana is jivatvam is created. Tato bhavan pruthakvidan. And from the jiva, because of the very creation of the jiva, bhavan, objects, the objects perceived, the world of objects of the waking reality, pruthakvidan, in various ways the objects are created. Bahyan, and these objects are bahyan, meaning they are external, they are in the outside world of manifested reality. This is the waker again over here. The jivatva of the waking state, the waking state is specifically talked about over here, that the jiva is first created, and the jiva which arrives, the jiva itself is responsible for creating the world of objects. This is very unique that we see in Mandukya Upanishad. It is the Upanishad where the entire study is taken from a completely different standpoint. Rather than going from the totality to the individuality, over here it is the individual which projects the totality, and the whole Upanishad is that the waking state belongs to the individual waker, and without the waker there is no such thing as the world. And because of that, it is the jiva which is the pradhan over here and not the totality. So over here, bahyan adhyatmikans chaiva. Adhyatmikans, the very personal, subjective, on the inside, all of those, the outside objects and the inside world of subjective experience, where the objective object is brought at a very subjective level, and the object is united in the experience, and that is what is indicated over here at adhyatmikans chaiva yatha vidyaha tatha smritihi. And as the knowledge, so is the smriti, so is the memory. So basically the entire Tattva Bodh is summarized in this one shloka. The entire textbook Tattva Bodha is summarized, that based upon all our vasanas, all our tendencies, all our desires, these desires themselves take a form of the jivatva. The jiva is the, when we say the jiva, it is the embodied soul. It is that embodied soul has no existence apart from the individual cause, and the individual cause is vasana. And from this moola avidya, the jiva is formed, and this jiva over here, kalpayate purvam, in the beginning, the first, this avidya comes about. Now somebody may say, where did this avidya come? That is not the subject of discussion over here, because avidya is not to be inquired. What is to be inquired is Brahman. The inquiry is about the truth, the absolute. The inquiry is not about this ignorance, and all Shastra says is Anadi Avidya. It is beginningless ignorance. So this beginningless ignorance has arrived to this point where the jivatva has been created, and the jivatva has been created out of these tendencies where the jiva actually enjoys the humanness and the human birth, because it is only in the human birth the jiva recognizes itself as the jiva, and the jiva establishes a goal to reach the state of moksha, the absolute platform of complete cessation of all types of ignorance, so that it is not persecuted by any of its own avidya. So that is only possible in the human birth. So in human birth, the jivatva has now arrived, and tato bhavan pruthakvidan, and as the tendencies, as the vasanas of the jiva, so is the world projected by the jiva. Now this is very different than the other Upanishad which says that the Shrushti is created, the creation is created, and then there is a pravesha, there is an entry of the jiva. Like for example, Taittiriya Upanishad, it is called Pravesha Shrushti, where the whole creation is explained. Akashat vayu vayu agni agni apa apa oshadi oshadi annam annat purushaha, and that is the Pravesha Shrushti, that from outside the jiva came. Over here the jiva from the inside created the outside world of matter. This is very unique over here to this Mandukya Upanishad. Bahyanscha adhyatmikanscha. So the outside world and the inside world is a projection of this jiva. Now someone may ask why? Because even though there are so many things outside in this world, the jiva does not recognize or acknowledge everything. The jiva only acknowledges and recognizes what the vasana allows the jiva to recognize. Whatever the tendencies are, it is these tendencies which appear as a thought, which solidifies as an emotion, which is unleashed as action, and it acts upon the object which it desired or thought about, and that is it. Or when the object already exists, and when the mind leaks out via the senses, it is the mind which allows the senses to gravitate towards a particular object that it notices based upon its craving tendencies. And because of that, over here it is said that Bahyan Adhyatmikanschaiva Yatha Vidya, what knowledge, what Vidya? This avidya. Even though it is said knowledge, yet it is Anadi Avidya, knowledge of the jiva. The jiva has the knowledge of the tendencies, and as the tendencies, Yatha Vidyaha Tatha Smrutihi. Tatha Smrutihi, so becomes the memory of the jiva. And when it is said so Tatha Smrutihi, what is meant is this jiva when it gets fascinated by this world, and when the jiva notices it, that jiva notices it and marks it, and it enters over here as the strengthening of the vasana. The vasana becomes strong for that object. If it has a liking, it becomes strong. If it has aversion, it becomes a dislike. And in this way, yatha smriti, tatha smriti, the vasana becomes stronger. The vasana becomes more and more stronger in terms of raga and dvesha, and that is known as smriti. It becomes stronger as likes and dislikes, and these likes and dislikes dictate how our future interaction in this world is going to be. And in this way, the whole jivatva is imagined. Jivam kalpayate purvam tato bhavan pruthakvidan bahyan adhyatmikanschaiva yatha vidyat tatha smriti. So, in this way, Gaudapadacharya ji says that as the knowledge, so is the memory. As the vasanas, so becomes more and more vasanas. So becomes our future dealings with this world. It is set every moment that we interact with the world of objective reality, that contributes to our future dealing with the objective reality, how strong or how weak we are making these vasanas. In this way, over here, it has been explained that the jivatva is none other than the egocentric personality, and that egocentric personality kalpayate, jivam kalpayate, it is projected, it is imagined. But who imagined it? Who created this jiva out of this purvam, first who created it? None other than this Atma itself. It is on this Atma, with the presence of avidya, ignorance, the jivatva is projected. So when it is said, jivam kalpayate, when jivatva is projected, who projects it? Because there is beginningless ignorance, and ignorance by itself cannot do anything, but when that ignorance comes in close proximity with consciousness, the consciousness, union of the consciousness and avidya, this creates what we have seen in previous Upanishad classes, mutual superimpositioning. Anyo anya adyas, just like the fire and the iron ball. Fire has its own qualities, iron ball has its own qualities. When the iron ball is put into the fire, the qualities of fire are given to the iron ball, or the iron ball takes the qualities of fire, and the fire also takes the quality of the iron ball. The fire accepts weight and shape, and the iron ball accepts heat and light, and we call it red hot iron fireball. And this is how ego is created. The avidya and consciousness, the conscious aspect of the ego arrives from pure awareness and then the limitation of the ego that I am finite, I am man, I am woman, all these are the qualities of Prakriti. Mula Vidya brings about that. So the limitation aspect of the Jiva comes from the Prakriti, and thus we have the capital S becomes the small s. This is where the whole thing is explained. Now that the Jiva has come, and now that the Jiva has produced the world based upon its tendencies, the Jiva forgets that it is absolute consciousness. And the self-forgetfulness of the Jiva is now talked about in the next 2 shlokas by introducing a very famous example of Vedanta, the rope and the snake. Anishchita yatha rajjuhu
Anishchita yata rajjuhu
andakare vikalpita
andakare vikalpita
sarpadharadibhirbhavaihi
sarpadharadibhirbhavaihi
tadvadatmana vikalpitah
tadvadatma vikalpitah.
Anishchita yatha rajjuhu. Yatha, just like rajju, a rope. And anishchita, meaning it is not clearly known. So when the lights are off, and if a rope in the shape of a coil of a snake, if it is lying, if the lights are off, we can even walk on top of it. We won't even know that we've walked on top of something. But if the night light is on, not the full light, just a little bit of light is there, and we enter that room and we see that rope, then because of the absence of full light, but at the same time there is still little bit of light is there, there is a misunderstanding that arrives that, oh, andhakare vikalpita, in this little darkness, sarpadhara adibhihi bhavaihi, in different ways it is seen. It is seen as though there is a sarpa, there is a snake over there. Dhara, a stream of water leaking out of maybe a tank or something. So it is misunderstood as either a snake or a streak of water. And no such thing as carpet those days. So on the tile flooring, on the paved flooring that they had, water also was stored in tanks, and when water leaked out, there was a fear of slipping on that water. And with the snake, there is a fear that the snake will bite. So 2 forms of mental agitations are formed because the snake is because the rope is misunderstood either as snake or as a stream of water. Dhara, a stream of water. So a line of water, a stream of water. So anishchita yatha rajjuhu, just like yatha rajjuhu andhakare, anishchita vikalpita sarpadhara adi vat bhavaihi tadvat atma vikalpitah. In the same way, just like the rope is seen as a snake, or that rope is misunderstood as a little stream of water, in the same way, because of this ignorance now, this jiva misunderstands itself, and Atma is not understood, but instead of Atma, which alone is, on that Atma is the projection of both the world on the outside as well as the jiva on the inside, producing the jiva experience. Both are superimposed on that same Atma, but that Atma is not understood, and instead what the jiva does is the jiva creates another bhavana, and the bhavana is baddhatva bhavana, as though it is bound, and it is bound by the snake vision, creates a bhavana in the mind that, oh my God, the snake is going to bite me and kill me. Or, oh my God, this water is here, now I am going to slip on this water and break my bones. So in this way, the fear is what is imagined, and because of the imagination of this fear which comes from the snake vision or the water dhara vision, that itself is enough for the jiva to take its attention away from the higher and now create a whole new imaginary world based upon the fear that it has imagined. And this is how jiva creates jivatva, and these feelings and emotions and ideas and thoughts that the jiva imagines, that itself becomes a future fodder of vasana, and this is how vasana grows. The jiva creates more and more fears, inhibitions, anxieties, hatred, love, aversion, this, that. The whole jivatva is superimposed, and over here tadvat atma vikalpitaha, and in this way Atma is imagined in very many ways, that, oh, this is what has happened, this is who I am, and it has lost its original nature of pure awareness. Instead of being Satchidananda Swarupa, now the jiva has a limited vision, and the limited vision created persecution of the world upon it, but it is not the world persecuting, it is the jiva imagining that the world is persecuting it because of its misunderstanding. And in this way, the jivatva becomes stronger and stronger. Nishchitayam yatha rajvam vikalpo vinivartate rajjure veti chadvaitam tadvadatma vinishchayah. Nishchitayam yatha rajvam vikalpaha, yatha, just like rajvam in the rope, nishchitayam, very firmly the jiva vikalpaha vinivartate. This jiva in very precise ways imagines the rope, and when this rope vision vinivartate from that snake vision from the rope, vinivartate nishchayam, very precisely out of proper understanding, when the real nature of the rope is inquired, and when it is known as rope, the snake vision completely disappears. In the same way, it is said over here, Rajju eva iti, that rope alone is, and there is not a trace of snake on it, or there is not a trace of a drop of water in it. Advaitam, and absolute non-dual truth alone is Tadvad Atma Vinishchayaha. In this way, Atma is known as Advaita, absolute truth alone. Non-dual truth is known only when the real nature of rope is inquired. When snake is seen, the snake creates fear, agitation, and that agitation takes the jiva away from the jiva's true nature of Ananda Swarupa. Ananda Swarup now is completely rejected, and the jiva is now persecuted by its own vision that it is limited, that it is going to be destroyed, that the snake is poisonous, all those things. The fear, when it takes over, the Satchidananda Swarup, which the jiva already is, it rejects it, and it rejects it instantaneously out of a fictitious vision which creates the bhavana of jivatva suffering. But when we inquire into the nature of the snake, that where is the snake, how did the snake come, let me take a light and see how I can get rid of the snake. And when I turn the light on, the real nature of the snake is revealed, and I see that it is not even a snake, that it is only a rope. And the knowledge that it is rope, it is enough to drive out all types of fear, all types of persecution and suffering created out of the faulty vision of snake. Only the knowledge removes this. In the same way, knowledge of the self alone removes all problems of the jiva. Over here, no karma is required. There is no amount of action that one can do to remove the jivatva bhavana. Karma kand cannot help, bhakti cannot help, any amount of yajna yaga, the rituals cannot help. There is only one thing that can destroy the suffering of the jiva, and that is inquiry into the real nature of jiva. And the inquiry of the real nature of jiva establishes that Advaita alone is. Advaitam tadvat atma vinishchayaha. With firm decision, with firm conclusion, with firm knowledge alone, it is ascertained that non-dual self alone is, and everything else is a projection on this Atma. This knowledge alone removes the suffering aspect of Jiva. The knowledge of the self does not remove the prarabdha that the Jiva is born from. The knowledge of Atma does not remove the projected reality on the outside. The projected reality on the outside will continue to be there because the Jiva Tva arrived in ignorance. But in this birth which was there in the beginning with ignorance, in the due course, when knowledge arrives, knowledge ends the suffering aspect of ignorance. But the projection which the ignorance has done, that will not come to an end, because that was created as a prarabdha of the Jiva, and that will continue until the Jivatva comes to an end. From the dawn of knowledge until the Jiva dies, the knowledge has already destroyed the suffering aspect of the Jiva, and the knowledge has destroyed the future ignorance of the Jiva. But the knowledge cannot destroy the previous ignorance which created Jivatva. This is very important. That from the dawn of knowledge, the Jiva knows that it is absolute truth. But the Jiva has no power to wipe out the projection, because the projection has already started. Just like when we go watch a movie, we sit down and we have no idea what to expect in the movie. And it is a mystery movie. Halfway along the duration of the movie, we know exactly what is going to happen. We know we have solved the mystery. But we just continue to watch the whole movie. And at the end, we realize we know the truth is revealed. We just walk up and leave. Halfway through the movie, we know exactly what is going to happen. But we enjoy that projection. In the same way, halfway through the Jiva's life, if the knowledge of the self arrives, the Jiva regains its identity as, I know who I am truth, I am consciousness. Self-realized soul doesn't reveal it to the whole world, doesn't go on a mountaintop and say, I know I'm Atma. But the person continues to live, realizing it is just a play, and they do what they have to do. This is where proper understanding of waking state comes to an end. Over here in shloka number 18 in Mandukya Karika, now Gaudapada Acharya ji has completed his thought on proving from shloka 5 to 18 that waking state is a projection, and it is a projection just like a dream state. And because it is a projection like a dream state, it is mithya, it is illusion. Just like when we clearly understand a snake to be a rope, and after that somebody can turn the light off, and I will see in that rope the marks which I saw when I did not know that it was a rope, but it created fear. Now it is not going to create fear. Knowledge is there. So the waking state doesn't persecute anymore. So he ends this line of thought over here. Now he takes another from shloka number 19 all the way up to shloka number 28. He discusses various philosophies. We have Charvak philosophy, we have Nayayikas, Vaisheshika, Yoga, Purva Mimamsa, Uttar Mimamsa, Vishishtadvaita, Dvaita, and all sorts of we have the 6 predominant school of thought, and then we have so many others beyond it. So he takes these schools of thought and their understanding, whatever their understanding is, Gaudapadacharya ji, he refutes that. And he establishes how Advaita alone is. That non-dual truth alone is. Why does he do that? This is to prove that waking state is an illusion. Because everybody doesn't accept that. Everybody has their own ideas of what the world is. What the idea of Jiva, Jagat and Ishwar is. Who is the embodied soul? What is this world? And who is the Lord of the universe? These 3 things people have written ideas about. But Gaudapadacharya ji in his Karika of Mandukya Upanishad, since Mandukya Upanishad with this Omkar, A-U-Ma, he rejects the A as the waking state, U as the dream state, and Makara as the deep sleep state, and then Amatra. After Omkar is over, that silence is the Turiya. This Upanishad, when in 12 mantras declares that, Gaudapadacharya ji now says that world is an illusion. World does not exist in reality. If it does for a jiva, it is a projection of the jiva. To establish that, he proves, systematically refutes each one of these philosophies and says, it cannot be what you are thinking. It cannot be what you are thinking. From the eye of this Mandukya Upanishad. Many people read Upanishads, but then they understand it accordingly to how they want to understand, or they misunderstand it, or a line of thinking is established, and based upon that, if we study the Upanishad, then also we will not be able to get the full purport of this Upanishad. So now he takes different ideas of different philosophies and he refutes that. Pranadi bhiranantaischa
Pranadi anantaischa
bhavairetaiर्विकल्पितः
bhavairetaiर्विकल्पितः
मायैषा तस्य देवस्य
मायैषा तस्य देवस्य
यया सम्मोहितः स्वयम्
यया सम्मोहितः स्वयम्.
So some people say that prana adibihi, that prana. Now you know prana is a very technical term in Vedanta. Prana over here does not mean the pranayam of Patanjali ji, you know, inhaling and exhaling. Over here, prana is the sutra prana of the universe, which is Hiranyagarbha is what is indicated. So we have to understand that this is, when it is said prana over here, it is Hiranyagarbha. And when we say Hiranyagarbha, what is Hiranyagarbha? Is the totality, the Ishwar. That consciousness identified with total Maya or total Avidya has a name called Hiranyagarbha. Now there is no explanation and you have to accept it. This is a definition. So, prana adibihi anantaischa. So, some people say prana adibihi, Ishvara, etc. Some people say that it is Hiranyagarbha who creates. It is Hiranyagarbha which is. Then, anantaischa bhavaihi, in various varieties of ways people say, vikalpitaha, they give their understanding, imagination on what is this Maya, what is ignorance, what is waking state, what is dream state. All this is just nothing but Maya. So Maya esha tasya devasya, that this Maya, projection of that devata, yaya sammohita swayam, somehow this Maya deludes swayam, that Atma itself, which identified with the Maya and became Ishwar, and that Atma identified with a particular Maya, particular Avidya, became the Jiva. All people have various understanding on this. So, due to the ignorance of the self-luminous Atma by which it gets, it is as were that it itself, the Atma, gets deluded. So, Maya esha tasya devasya yaya sammohita swayam. This Atma, by its own identification with this Maya, it gets deluded and Ishwaratva is born over here. So now there are different philosophies which come out of this, and we will see tomorrow. We'll continue how Gaudapadacharya ji refutes various philosophies. Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet. Om shanti shanti shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.